All right, welcome to episode 9 of the Iowa Girls Wrestling Stories podcast. Today, I want to welcome Emalee Douglas. She's not from Iowa, but she did wrestle for me in a tournament in Iowa, and she's been here several times. But her story is really important because she, as an individual, made a difference. So, Emalee, you're from Florida, Harmony High School, and you wrestle for a really good guy, Lady Longhorns Wrestling Club. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I love my club. We practice year round, thankfully. Um, so I get a lot of mat time year round. And honestly, I without the club I have, I don't know where I would be in my wrestling. I'm super grateful for all the coaches that I have, especially Chris. Um, they he just allows me to accomplish a lot of my goals in wrestling, and he's very supportive of everything I want to do, and it just allows me to be the best version of myself and progress how I want to progress.
Yeah, he's a really great guy. I've talked to him several times now, and we really kind of share a lot of, I think, similar philosophies and stuff.
Mhm.
But we have the opportunity to meet 2023 in
Mhm.
Iowa at the Junior Olympics that Iowa AAU hosted in Des Moines. And why don't you, instead of starting there, let's start at the tournament prior to that. And let's
Mhm.
start down in Florida. Your experience you had at the Scholastic Duels. Everybody refers to it as Disney Duels, but National Scholastic Duels.
Uh-huh. So I this was my first dual experience ever. This was my first off season, and I was put on an all-star team because that was the only available slot for the team that we were working with. And I was an alternate, and I was okay with that. I was like, okay, I'm very optimistic, I don't like to be negative. So we get there, and obviously it's a 3-day long thing. And as time went on, I wouldn't be getting put in, which happens, but it was kind of discouraging just because the amount of money that goes into being there, and then for 3 days, I think I only wrestled one real match. It was very just like it was very discouraging to somebody who, that was my first experience, and that was my first experience also being under different coaching. Um, And so my high school coach was there, and I just like started sobbing to him. I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to do this. And he was like, we can get you more exhibition matches. And, I said no because I was upset, but I did wrestle more exhibition matches. And I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to still be able to get mat time, even though it wasn't how I intended.
Yeah, no, you did. I mean, I think that happens to a lot of people going down to Florida. We always put two
Mhm.
alternates on our teams too, and it's really difficult. It's difficult for the coaches to break away to go to those alternate matches, and it's difficult to get people matches. And everybody's so concerned about winning, and it's postseason. Yeah, I have different philosophies, obviously, um, and it's a great duel, and I'm glad
Mhm.
that maybe some things are changing with it. I don't know if you noticed any differences this year. They were subtle, but there were some differences. Um, then you went up to Iowa. Can you
Mhm.
talk a little bit about and even I think I'll cut in a couple times because I have some insight on this too. But go ahead and tell me about Iowa just a little bit.
Okay, so I wrestled. I originally went up there with Team Florida, who I was supposed to wrestle for, and I was supposed to be an alternate, and I was kind of prepared to just sit there all day. And I was like, okay, this sucks. Um, but still glad to be there. But then I think it was my coach that came up to me and was like, hey, there's this guy, and he's putting together this team last minute. It's super small, but you'll be able to get match time. And I was like, yeah, absolutely, sure. Um, so I meet you, and I think there was what, 7 other
Six,
girls?
6, 7. I think we may have
Six?
pulled in one girl mid duels. It just said, "Hey,
Yeah.
you're wrestling with
So
us," type of thing.
so super small team, and I remember you kind of being like, "Hey, chances are low," but I was like, to me, it didn't matter. I was like, I get to wrestle. This is great. Um, and the tournament as a whole, like, didn't go how I went or didn't go how I wanted. Um, but the support that I got, like, from that team was, much more than winning.
Yeah. I'm sure you come off of your experience down in Florida, you come up to Iowa, oh, you're on an alternate, you're an alternate again, and then you get the opportunity, but then you look over and there's this short, fat old dude I got to work with. God, I don't want to see him. And I think initially when the girls all when these teams come together, I think sometimes the girls are like a little apprehensive, but I have some different philosophies than a lot of coaches, and I would assume that you still remember the family is very important to me, the whole wrestling
Mhm,
family, and that we talk about forget about me, I love you. And that's what family stands for in all my rooms. So
mhm.
that's kind of how you became an Iowa girl, for this podcast. So because
Yeah.
once we're family, once you've wrestled for me, we're friends forever. I always support you, and that's just kind of how it works. Um, Throughout the day, what were some of the things that you picked up, wrestling with some girls from Illinois, some girls from Iowa. We had a girl from North Dakota. Just did you still
Mhm.
have those friendships? Have you, are you what came?
Actually, there was one girl that she requested me, she friended me on Facebook, and I was like, she looks familiar. And so I scrolled back up to like the team picture that we had from that day, and I was like, oh yeah, that's her. And so I like friended her back. So that was really cool. But I remember like just everyone being so happy, even though like I was losing every round, and everyone still was so excited when I came off the mat. And I remember after, I think it was that you were coaching me through a different way to do like a fireman's, which I
Yeah,
still use to
good.
this day. And um yeah, I was talking about, I'm super glad to be here. Um Talking about my past experience, and you were like, "Hey, can you actually write something about that for me?" And I was like, "Sure." And so the whole 4 hour flight back, or yeah, something like that. Hour and a
That's about
half
right.
maybe.
Now it's
Uh,
pretty good flight. Where did you fly into
my-
Sanford or Orlando?
Probably
Oh,
Orlando.
Orlando.
I'm not sure, but my whole flight back I wrote, and then as soon as I landed, I sent it.
Yeah. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it talked about your experience in Florida. I've got it up, but like I said, I'm not going to read it all the way through. And then I talked about your experiences, in Iowa and how it contrasted, and that nobody should have to sit there all day. And that as an organization, you didn't say this, but I did. AAU needs to do better. I think USA Wrestling needs to do better. I think any organization that puts on tournaments needs to do better to make sure everybody, especially dual tournaments, everybody has opportunities. So this email caused a little bit of a stink, I will tell you, which is good because that's how we create, that's how we make change, right? And I'm so proud of you for just having the confidence and just to say, you know what, this is my experience and I think it sucked and I
Mhm,
want something better. So I first of all, I posted the email as is.
mhm.
Within probably a half hour, I was getting calls from people that are above me in the organization saying you have to take the name of the team off. And I
Gotcha.
said, well, that's crazy because you know uh, this is her experience and this is the team she was on, and
Yeah.
other people have that.
And of course, meant no disrespect to them at all. I mean, all my teammates were great. The coaches were great. You know, it was no dirt on that team's name at all.
Just happened to be who you're wrestling for.
Yes,
It
sir.
and it's other teams have the same experience, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, and then after that, this email got forwarded on to the whole AAU board, the executive committee board, where it was met with a little bit of hey, what the hell? Who's this new? I was new on the board, so who's this new guy and why is he causing problems? But then we had a meeting and we got to talk about it. And I got to actually hand this email out, and everybody read it. And then they understood. And then they said, okay, we have to do better. So I know that they tried to do a better job with the alternate mats this year, but then they
Of course.
allowed me to coach another alternate team, which I was a little surprised that I didn't get more people, but we did have a nice little team again. But it was one of those that, at least they were listening, and at least they made some progress. Hopefully
Yeah,
that continues.
it's hard. It's hard to run a tournament. It's super expensive. Of course, I understand that the change is not always going to come, right then and there. But
Yep.
I'm glad to hear that, it did something. It stirred something up.
Yeah, that shows that, we may feel like we're small and little and stuff, but if you just go ahead and put yourself out there and share your opinions, you can make changes, and that's really awesome. And that's kind of why I wanted to make sure you were on here, because then
Hmm.
I saw you again this last year in Florida. It was really fun to talk to
Yeah.
you again, and I saw a couple of the other girls. So that was really cool. But then you sent me a message about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, and you're doing a project. So
Hmm.
would you tell us a little bit about this project?
Yeah, it was just I take an online English, which is another reason why my schedule is so short. And the final assignment slash project was just write a persuasive essay on anything. And I was like, okay, what can I write on that I actually, want to write on, and I'm not going to get bored, and I actually, can submit something worth my time and effort. And for some reason, it just popped in my head, and I pulled up the email, and I basically reformatted it, added, my evidence because it's an essay,
Uh-huh.
um, and then submitted it and passed my class. So
Awesome. So it you didn't fail, so that's good.
yeah,
What
um,
grade did we get on it?
oh, I don't know. I think a B actually.
That's if you're in my world, B's are excellent. So
But I don't know, it kind of brought me back because I was like, I thought of you and I was like, okay, I haven't talked to him in a while. Let him know how we're doing.
yeah, I'll tell you, us old coaches appreciate that. And I am going to read the bottom of this email, the little personal part you sent to me. And I'm going to tell you, I got that. And I got to work. Actually, I got this email at work. Okay.
Mhm.
And I'm sitting in our locker room changing because I work at a plant and stuff. And I'm not going to kid you, you made me cry. So it says, "Hey, Coach Troy, I wanted to email you separately to say thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to wrestle in the duels, and thank you for the opportunity to talk about experience of being an alternate wrestler. I wrote quite a lot, and I hope you don't mind, but I was really inspired while talking to you, and was really intrigued with the idea that I could make a difference. So I hope you take the time to read it. The team you built and the opportunity I was given this weekend meant more to me than any win or any medal, Emalee Douglas." And that was probably one of the nicest things I've ever had sent to me. One of the greatest. That's why we coach and stuff. So I want to thank you for that. That is really
Sure.
cool. It makes you feel good about stuff. I see you said you had a short schedule. This girl is a senior and gets done in class at 11 a.m. and lives in Florida. So let's explore. Let's just talk about your life just a little bit.
Uh-huh.
So you're in Florida. You're in Central Florida,
Hmm.
right around the Orlando area.
Yeah.
Um, what do you do for fun?
Well, I live in a small town, so there's not much to go out and do. On weekends I'll go to the beach. I'm about 45 minutes from the beach. Um, I like to read. Um, if I'm not wrestling, I'm probably actually coaching.
Oh, that's awesome.
Um, but yeah, a lot of my time is wrestling. But I like to read, and I love hanging out with my friends, no matter where it is.
Which beach is the one to hit in Central
Melbourne,
Florida? Melbourne.
Melbourne. Well, that's not the one to hit if you're visiting, but that's the
Okay,
one closest to me. I would
gotcha.
s- I would say West Coast. It's a little prettier there.
Okay. We when we're in Orlando, we usually go down to Daytona or Cocoa.
Yeah. Oh,
Jason, I think you've met Jason Lloyd, the director, Iowa director. We always take the trip down to Port Canaveral because there's a little restaurant, that little tiny Atlantic Ocean Company or something right on the beach. It's catch of the day stuff. It's awesome.
yeah.
But uh, this last time down in uh, we stayed in Lauderdale by the Sea, which is just just a little outside of Fort Lauderdale, real small
Yeah.
town also. And man, those beaches were nice.
Yeah.
That is really really pretty down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I love Florida. If I had it, if I had it all to do again, I would probably live in Florida. I really like it.
Yeah.
So
Super, but very
you're go ahead. Go ahead. Did you have something? I interrupted
no,
you.
that's super nice, but very hot.
Oh yeah, it is hot, but have you been to Iowa in the wintertime yet?
No.
Okay, yeah, maybe we won't talk about that because I'd like to get you up here for college. But you
Gotcha.
have been to Iowa though a couple
Yes.
times.
Yes,
So
sir.
actually, instead of just Iowa, your club is fantastic. Chris does amazing things with you. Why don't you
Yes,
talk
sir.
about some of the things that you have got to experience just being in this wrestling club?
Oh man. I have been just about everywhere. So, um, this summer I think was probably some of the best trips we've had. Um, so obviously we go to Freak Show Vegas every year. That's always awesome. Um, we just recently, I think the one before that, we hit like it was kind of like a four deal thing. So we went to Washington D.C. just to hang out for a day or two. We did all the sightseeing around there. Um, and then we went to New Jersey for a tournament. It was Summer Nationals, so we were there for that day. And then we went to New York. We drive from New Jersey to New York, immediately get on a helicopter and did their nighttime tour on this helicopter. So it was super, super awesome. And then we were in New York for a day and a half, I think. Um, so whenever we travel a lot, so whenever he tries to make it, as enjoyable as he can, so it's not just about wrestling, we can have fun. Um, we're always there for a couple extra days, just having fun, goofing off, doing whatever. So I'm super grateful that, we can do that. And it's not just this exhausting cycle of, okay, get there the day of weigh-ins, weigh in, wrestle, leave. Um,
Yeah,
we have a lot of fun.
yeah, I follow your club and see all your adventures, and it is just crazy how much you guys do, and that is
Mhm.
amazing. That's what we
Yeah.
kind of look at it with when we do our trips too. It's and what can experience can we have around this trip that makes it memorable? Because and I know, it's not really about them wins and losses. It's about the experience and about
Yeah.
growing and learning and meeting and just all those things.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah. That's my family, and it's not just my coach and the wrestlers, but it's their parents and their brothers and sisters that are coming with us, and staying in, sometimes it's a hotel, sometimes it's a cabin in the woods. um and so it's kind of a, we'll have breakfast together, and it's my family. That's my family.
that's incredibly awesome. It is. It's just really cool. How about your experiences in Iowa? What have you been up for a few different things I know.
Yeah, so we go every year for the camp, Iowa camp. um So that is always a really good experience and really good technique that they show. They have a lot of awesome people always showing technique. They bring in a lot of cool people. Um, and it's just, it's really hard mentally, but you come out of the other side and you're like, okay, I did that. It was hard, but I did it, and you feel good about yourself. Um, so it's 5 days, three um three practices a day. So it's super super tough, but it's super good information, super good practices, super good like work. Um And then I was there for Junior Olympics. And obviously, we know how that went. That was really
Yeah,
awesome too. So,
cool. So I think last year your season, your high school season, and most of your club season was ended because of an injury. How's
mhm.
that going, and how's the recovery, and actually what happened? How's recovery
So at my district tournament, I got thrown kind of funky and I landed with my arm behind me, kind of on my like I landed on my palm and then my elbow and it pushed my shoulder out the front of, the socket. So it dislocated and I tore my labrum and then, you know, um I yeah, it was really rough. And my coach was like, well, you can get surgery or you can rehab it the best you can and hope it doesn't come out again. And I was like, well, what do you think I should do? And he was like, well, it's not about what I think I should do or what I think you should do. It's your decision.
going?
And I was kind of frustrated with him because he didn't want to influence my decision. He didn't want me to go off of what he said, which is why he wouldn't tell me, what he wanted. But I was like, because I was just so lost with what I wanted to do that I was like, I need someone to tell me what I need to do. Um, so I ended up going in to see his surgeon that he recommended, and he was like, "You have a way better chance, of making it through another season if you just get the surgery." And I was like, "Okay, fine." Um, so I got it a couple months later, I think February. I hurt myself in February, March, April, May. Got my surgery in May, so 4 months later, and then he was like, "It's a 5 month recovery, like no resting at all, 5 months." And so I got out of surgery and actually went to an event that night for a club that I'm in, FFA, Future Farmers of America. A 6 hours post-op, went to that event because everybody said that I wasn't going to be able to. They were like, "You're going to be out of surgery, you're not going." And I was like, "Yes, I am." Um, but then a lot of it from there was super boring PT. And I still went to practice every single day. I did my PT there. Um, and I just watched what I could. And I think kind of the 3, 4 month mark rolled around, and I still wasn't supposed to be on the mats yet, but I was. I wasn't doing I wasn't doing anything that could hurt me, obviously. I wanted to be good for the season. That's the important part of this. But whatever I could that wasn't involving my shoulder, I was doing. Um, and just super light until, the 5th month rolled around. I got cleared. This was, a couple weeks ago, October 1st.
Yep.
And so once October 1st hit, it was nonstop, kind of, hard practicing, staying after practice, um, just getting any extra work in that I could to try and make up for time and prepare for Freak Show, which was literally weeks away. And it's such a hard tournament. I was like, I me and my coach both expected, an 0-2 finish. I was not expecting anything from it at all. And I ended up going 2-2, which is great. Um, but yeah, I literally had weeks to prepare
Yeah.
for
That's
Freak Show. I hadn't done any live, any heavy drilling in 5 months, and so I had like 3 weeks to do this.
yeah. That's great, and I'm glad you followed your PT, and I'm glad you didn't hurt it again because I know so many people don't listen to their doctors and don't get that
Yeah.
stuff done. But yeah, I'm so excited that you're back on the mat. So you get the rest of your high school season, which I'm guessing is starting soon, very soon.
Yeah, late November. Yeah.
Yeah, we start our Iowa
Um,
starts a little earlier. I think we start November 4th is when we start, but most places are a few weeks behind that.
yeah. Um, but so at Freak Show, obviously my coach was like, "Well, if you're in a bad position, just he says live to wrestle another day, and which is kind of, where I had to let my two matches that I lost go a little early because
Hmm.
um I I think both of them ran arm bars on my bad shoulder. So I was like,
Yep.
I had to go over, and I was like, I pushed the last one a little too far, and she pinned me, and I got up and I was crying, and I walked over and I shook her hand, and I ran off the mat crying, and was like couldn't feel my arm, and I was like it kind of it brought me back for a minute, so
Yep.
I was really shaken up, but I'm good now.
Yeah, that I think those scares you get are more sometimes that injury is, in your head a lot more, and then something tweaks and like, oh my God,
Hmm.
yeah, it's gonna happen again. I know you
Yeah.
wrestled one of my girls, my high school girls at
Uh-huh.
in Iowa, Izzy Deeds, and she had the same torn labrum. Didn't recover as well, it doesn't sound like, but it would have been her junior year. Same thing happened. She got ran over that arm and completely lost it. And afterwards, she was like, I wasn't even mad that I lost, the match. I was scared. I was really scared. So
A
I
big part a big
understand.
part of recovery was the mental side. For
Yep.
a long time, and still, if I will, occasionally I'll get put into a similar position that I was, a headlock or something where I'm going over, and I'll freak out
Yep.
at practice. And my coach was like, if I'm going to put you in this tournament, I have to know that that's not going to happen in the tournament.
Yep.
And so that was a big focus, was getting back mentally, not just physically.
And most of this sport is that mental
Yeah.
part.
Yeah.
Um, before, and because we do have a little bit of limited time, I do want to
Mhm.
talk a little bit about your plans for the future, because if anybody, and I know I have some college coaches that watch this,
Mhm.
anybody's interested in talking to you, what are your plans for the future?
So I do want to try, I do want to go to college and wrestle. I want to go pre-vet, which is pretty common. And I was looking more towards animal science, but it's very hard to find. So, anywhere with a pre-vet program.
Okay.
But I'm mostly just looking for like I want a more developed program, but something that I will still have, a chance to do well in and be able to wrestle. And, I know obviously I'm not going to walk on a starter my freshman year, but I would still like, I don't want to go somewhere where I'm going to be treated as a number. I want to go somewhere where I know I'm going to be treated with kindness and respect by coaches.
Hmm.
Um, so, I want to be able to be in a good environment where the wrestling is, the wrestling room, the pace is good. The people in there are going to help me, you know, wrestle to my best ability. And but
But you are open to Iowa, even though it
yes, I'm
gets cold as heck.
open to pretty much anywhere.
Gotcha. So, maybe we'll talk later. I got some ideas for you, but I won't influence anybody on the podcast here. Let's see. I'm going to look through my notes just to make sure I covered everything I wanted to and
Hmm.
stuff. So I got a few rapid fire questions for you, just so we can see a little bit about you. And it's not real hard ones.
Gotcha.
But they're important. Cats or dogs?
Mm. I'm gonna say dogs. I have both, but I think dogs do just fit my personality a little more.
All right. Ocean or mountains?
Mountains. Even though I live in Florida, I love the mountains.
What's your favorite color?
Ugh, green.
What type of music? What's your favorite genre of music, or what's
I like rock, metal.
okay? Favorite song, like pre-match song. What's the pre-match song?
Ooh, I'm gonna have to say anything Linkin Park, I think.
Very nice, very nice. Freestyle or folk style?
Mm, freestyle. I like having a little more freedom, which I think is the whole point.
Yeah. Favorite takedown?
Mm, ankle pick.
Ankle pick. Nice, nice. And if you're on top, what's our go-to for pinning?
Um, I like a spiral ride or like like grabbing ankles. Um, leg riding. I like leg riding. I don't do it too much because I'm tall, so it doesn't really work that well. But I like to pin. I like butchers.
Gotcha. Okay. So pretty common, I think. Well, do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share with everybody and excuse me, and just, anything. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't even have to be wrestling. It can be whatever you want to tell people.
You know what? I always be positive in any setting. I think a lot of people say that, oh, if you ingest, all this negative stuff, you're going to become negative too. And I think a lot of people don't believe it, but you should. You should. Always be positive, always be kind, because it will reflect, your atmosphere is going to reflect back onto you. So always surround yourself with good people and speak nicely to yourself and others.
That's really good. Um, College coaches, I think this would be a great young lady to have. I'm hoping to swing her up to Iowa, but whatever works out. Um, we're gonna go ahead and end this. And Emily, if you would stick around just for a couple minutes and
Mhm.
stuff, but thank you very much. I think this was great. I really appreciate it,
Thank you.
and we'll talk to you soon.